Hi, can you hear us?
Good morning or good afternoon. Yes, I can.
Those minutes?
Sorry.
Yes,
Okay. Do you have any corrections or additions or anything like that? If there are none, I'll accept a motion that we accept both sets of minutes as presented. So,
And to
Somebody-
accept both as written.
do a second?
well, there aren't
Okay,
many of
Deb
us.
seconded.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oh, there's only four of us. Anyway, so everybody's in favor, I assume. Everybody in favor? If so,
Yes,
we'll
aye.
file the minutes. Okay. The reports, Jessica, it's up to you now.
So I'm going to start with having Megan introduce herself. So she's a new face here. So I'm going to let Megan introduce herself as part of the youth services updates. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hi, so my name is Megan Erdman. I am currently the Cannabis Prevention Coordinator through CRAC. We are the Region 3 RBHAO, so we support Eastern Connecticut with substance use and mental health education, supports references, and coordinate LPC work as well as many other things. So yeah, I will be here regularly.
Okay, thanks, Megan.
Nice.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Ethel Manzares. I'm Chair of the Youth Advisory Committee. And if everybody else could go around and introduce themselves to Jessica, to Megan, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'm flustered. That's what my
Well-
problem is.
That's okay. Hi, I'm Deborah Hulkran. I'm a community member and I'm on the Board of Education at the Regional High School.
Gerard, I'm from Favor. I'm a family systems manager for Region 3. So many of the towns that CRAD covers.
Thanks.
I'm Danielle Lee. I'm the assistant principal at the middle school in Mansfield.
I'm Jocelyn Santiago. I'm the Early Childhood Services Coordinator for Mansfield Youth Services.
And we have a few people that are absent today, but if they show up, I'll have them introduce themselves here throughout the meeting.
Okay, thanks. Has anybody heard from what's her name? She's been Laura.
Laura, no, but she sometimes forgets this. I often text her, but I'm driving, so I can't do that.
Okay.
But she does forget. More than on a few occasions, I've texted her and said, "Hey, Laura, you coming?"
Okay. Could somebody over there text her, Jessica?
I don't have her phone number, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't
Well, I
have
can
it.
try. I'm pulling over. I can try. And let
Okay,
me just try
thanks,
to do
Deb.
that.
Thank you. In the meantime, you want to give your reports, Jessica?
I can. So let's start with youth services. Fall programming is up and running. And so we are currently doing our whole year programming. And so for youth services, so we have pause, which is having some minor adjustments. It is our positive activities with students group. And so it's for first and second graders. We're doing it at recess this year as opposed to during lunchtime. And so we're going to do some activity-based programming. We have Big Friends that is starting this week as well after school. Tiger Strong will be starting next week. That is going to be run out of the senior center. And so there'll be bus there starting next week. My Pride is also going up at Mansfield Middle School in the afternoon times every other Thursday. And we have a social emotional learning program for our pre-K that we're looking to start. Jocelyn's doing that. It's called Feel Your Best Self. It was a puppetry program in collaboration with the Ballard, and there's a whole curriculum that goes along with it for social emotional learning for little ones. So, and then we have started Smart Recovery at EO Smith as well. We have a few people that are in there. So that's going well. We have our Q1 grant report out that I'm working on now. That's due October 15th for all of our services. So I'm working with the staff now on that. And then we are looking to do a bunch of surveys, and one of those is for youth services to get out to the community and have community surveys. Working with a few different people in town to see how we can get outreach to improve so we can meet people everywhere. So there's that piece as well. If there's any ideas, would love to have conversations about ideas for questions for that survey. If you can shoot them to me or anything like that, we can talk about it later in this meeting if people have ideas on the top of their head. So that's about it for youth services. There's lots of balls in the air with the teen center and things, but that's about all I have to report out right now. In terms of human services, we had our presentation to the local government academy on Thursday, and that went well. It was well received. I will be presenting to the town council on the Tuesday, all of the human service programs, and kind of some data and feedback from this year, what we do. If there's any areas that you feel like you want us to highlight for youth services, feel free to shoot me an email or let me know at the end of the meeting. And I'm happy to include those. Energy assistance is pending, and so hopefully that will be approved to start at the end of this week, so we can start those applications for next week for our families in town. Our Seasons of Giving and holiday program is also starting as soon as possible. The goal is to get those out in the digital backpack for next week, and so the holiday program applications this year we decided to do based off of surveys from families. We are doing Adopt a Family again, as well as gift cards. Families, not as many families liked shopping through the donations as we thought. So we heard back from about, I think, over almost 3/4 of the families that have been utilized our programs in the past. So so we're going to do with those two programs. So those applications will go out. We're also doing a food program for both Thanksgiving, like side meals, and Christmas meals. Veterans Day, we have a celebration at our senior center on November 8th that we're looking to get E.O. Smith to come in and help with. So that will be happening. Let's see. On the 9th, there is a multi-town Veterans Day event celebrating the Korean War era vets, and that is happening at Ashford Senior Center if anybody wants to go or if anybody knows people. There are homelessness resources on our website that I have started a new website for that, as I will be the homelessness and housing representative for the town. And so there is a new website, like resources on our town human services webpage. So you can see it's just called Housing and Homelessness. And as Megan is here, there is the new cannabis grant that I'm thinking about putting an application in for. We just heard about more of it on Thursday, and so just opened up on October 1st. So I will be bringing it to my leadership and see what their thoughts are. And that's about it.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, does anyone, or all business sector reports, does anyone have anything to report? Okay, since there is none, we'll go to new business, and under new business, it's supposed to be redefining the purpose of the Youth Services Bureau Advisory Committee.
Mhm.
And the reason this came up is on the docket because last month we had a discussion, it was Lisa and I think Danielle and Jessica, about what our purpose is, because they went and made all these changes at Youth Services, revamped everything, and the committee did not know anything about it. And my understanding was that, I know in the past we've had input in that kind of stuff when those things were happening, but this time nobody came to us and to let us know what they were all thinking about. And I know you probably weren't here, Jessica, when it all started. So that's the reason that's on the agenda. So if anybody has any comments or ideas or what have you, now's the time, I guess. I mean, if from my perspective, if they're not gonna come to us and ask us what we think about the major changes that you've made, that they're thinking of making, then what's our purpose?
I agree with that. So I don't know if there's a shift in if there's new people, because I know that there's been lots of transitions places. I don't know if there's new people that don't perhaps know about the Youth Service Advisory Board itself. But I do agree, Ethel, where it makes me think, okay, so if you're making all those changes but not coming to us with it to at least look at it or talk about it, then
Right.
what is our purpose of meeting every month? Like, what are we actually doing as a group every month for an hour?
Right.
Yeah, it would probably to get some input and clarification on the, I apologize, my phone keeps cutting out. I'm in with you and gone. It might be because of my location, but it does make sense to have some clarity of purpose. Besides the fact that it's required to have this committee. Oops,
You're
I've
cutting
cut
out
out
there.
again.
Yeah, we heard you, Deb. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna pull up the charge. So, the only comment that I have to add is, I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but, I, when I just, so I did talk briefly with Ryan, and he wasn't sure about the changes, because I think that there was some, I'm not sure how much, right before me, he was involved with the youth services, like on a intimate detail type basis, like this stuff.
Right.
And so, but what my understanding of the charge is to, as in an advisory capacity, is to talk about youth needs, family needs within the town, which is separate from like the business of the town. And so my understanding of, Deborah, I know you weren't here, but my understanding of what happened with the changes at the YSB was the town had gone out to, stop the business of doing the in-school counseling and program stuff, like having our clinicians or social workers go in the school. And so the school then picked up and did those pieces. How that all played out, I don't know. And so that was more of a business decision rather than like a question of services, programs, what the community needs are for youth and families. And so I think the other thing, when I think about the purposes that this committee or our council serves, is to think about the need, like the bigger needs of our, outside of just basic needs, but like prevention, like how do we talk about substance use and prevention of certain stuff, the cannabis grant that we have, like having input on whether that's needed or not. I think it is, but I'm not a parent in this town or have kids in this town, but right, those kinds of things. And so I think about it in that capacity. But I was going to pull up the charge on my email as well. I don't know if I
Well, if our charge is to provide input into what maybe is needed in the community in terms of youth and stuff, how do we do that when I say you, I meant,
Yeah,
whoever did this, when you make these changes without coming to us and say, hey, do you think this will help? Or, with what the needs are.
Mhm.
It seems to me like, we're like, it's the committee is almost like an afterthought, that we really don't have any say in anything. And when I say in anything, it would have been nice if they had said, we're going to make these changes. What do you think? Do you think that's going to impact our services to the community or to the kids?
Mhm.
That's where,
Ethel, I know, can I just ask, I know I wasn't at the last meeting, maybe the last two.
Right.
So I'm not clear. Changes were made by the town manager, by the council?
I don't know.
Is that, but what changes are we referring to?
The
You know-
changes I'm referring to are, so there were, and I don't have my notes, maybe I printed them out here.
You can just summarize.
Yeah, but we have, so youth services is, has 2 less social workers. So right now the Youth Service Bureau is a social work supervisor or a clinical supervisor of some sort. Sarah DeLuca she's going to be starting on Tuesday next week. And Ethel, we have to set up a time for her to meet with you. And so she'll be starting to, in this role and, as the supervisor, because Katie Bell resigned. Two social workers,
You cut out. I can't.
Maren Jelly and resigned from her position because we were taking two social work positions because we run out of the business of doing the school-based clinical work, the school-based social work. But the school was going to take those two social workers and have them just kind of transfer over to the school so that they didn't lose a job, right? So that was going to be their thoughts because they wanted the two school-based social workers in there under the Board of Ed. And so my understanding is Maren Jelly then resigned. And so, but Robin is currently at the middle school, who used to be our social worker. And so right now the YSB is just the social supervisor, one social worker, Kelly, and Jocelyn. And that is how it's going to stay at this time. We're not replacing those two other roles. So those were the
Again, you cut out. I can't hear you, so.
It might be on your end, Ethel, possibly. I just have one question, and I apologize because my absence made me stupid about this. So are you saying that the town council cut social work positions?
No, I don't know how I believe it was that all happened before my time. Like the week that I came in was the week that we started having those conversations that this was happening. So I don't really know all the process before. I'm going to be honest. I can't speak to that.
Well, yeah, I've been gone a while, I guess. I thought we were adding social workers like crazy to the basis. We're down social workers. So, yeah, so some investigation, I guess, needs to take place. My absence has made it so I'm not really on top of this, especially with regard to the high school. So I will do my due diligence and get some information on my own outside of this session.
The high school,
And maybe since we're new to each other, we need some catching up.
the high school added social workers is my understanding, but that's from the Board of Ed, from Region 19 Board of Ed, is my understanding. And the school added, I think technically one social worker because they had that grant for that one that transitioned out. He was there and then
Right.
So I think an additional one. So they had two as opposed to one, I guess would be the best way to think about it. And so our social workers in the YSB were supposed to be embedded in the school. So that's my understanding of how it was set up to run.
Yes, yes.
Yep, and so it really was just a transition of those roles as to who they reported up to. But that's my understanding.
Can you find out who decided to take your social workers and take them out of youth services? You know, and send them over to the schools. I mean, I think the schools need social workers, obviously. That's not my issue. And, and did we now lose those positions? Has youth services now lost those positions?
I mean, yes, but they weren't supposed to. Go ahead, Lisa.
Just as a thought, so we're not just chasing answers and kind of talking around it. Would it be possible to see if someone could come, either from town council or whoever made this decision prior to getting there, to come to our next meeting to be able to explain it to us a little bit better so we have a good understanding?
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll do my work at the high school just to
Good.
understand what happened. Because on the board, we don't necessarily know every personnel decision that's made. So
Right.
I'll catch up on that there specifically for the next meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to know who came up with this idea and, and why not tell anybody until it was a done deal, I guess. Anyway, so if you could find out, Jessica, or have somebody, come explain, who on the staff came up with this, who on youth services went along with this?
And I guess my question is so to me, right, and I know I'm new, so this is why I'm asking this more than just and wondering. So for me, right, from the world that I've come from, not having worked in municipalities and the such, there wouldn't be a committee that was involved in those personnel decisions, or
No.
they wouldn't know ahead of time, right? And all the other committees that I've sat on in different like jobs. And they would be informed of those decisions. But you're saying, I guess, historically, you were involved in whether that happened or not? Because I guess that's where my question lies.
No,
Just in
no,
providing input.
yeah, that's all, all we did was, put input. It's not that we were involved in doing away with positions or adding positions or anything like that. Just, who came up with this idea to restructure youth services? That-
I believe it was
and
a
then you
long,
look-
yeah, I believe I believe there was a lot of factors and it was a long time coming, but since I wasn't involved in those, I don't want to speak for people.
Yeah.
So I can see, if there's somebody that can speak to that, or at least come to join us for the beginning.
Yeah, that'd be good,
Yep.
although I don't, what's the date of the next meeting? Oh, I won't be here on the 12th. I won't be here on the 12th.
Number 12.
Yeah, I'll be gone. I'll be away.
Yeah, so we can talk about whether we want to move that or if we want to.
Yeah, yeah, we could do that, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
So, but going back to the purpose,
right.
I guess, if we want to continue that conversation about what is it that you see that you guys want to be involved in, your role, those kinds of things. Because we will have a new supervisor that will be coming and right, being here. And so it's kind of like a automatic reset, in some ways.
Well, I'd like to go back, to do it the way we were doing it, where, if you're going to make these changes, present them to the committee and say, this is what we're going to do. You have any ideas, et cetera. Not that we can change your mind or we can veto your ideas or, whatever they're going to choose. That's not the issue. The issue is let us know. And then, we may know something that would impact the changes that may be positive or negative to the changes.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing is we had a very active role in getting the council to add social workers at one time.
Right.
There was, yeah, and knowing that there was a need, and maybe that need's been filled now that the schools have got money to hire their own or whatever happened there. But at one point in time, more social work positions were needed, and the advisory committee, we got up there and we advocated at the town council level.
Right.
So we had a very active role in that,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
for history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for years, when they were hiring the new director of youth services or coordinator, whatever the title was back, there was always somebody from the committee who was on the initial interviewing process. And that stopped. That stopped, I think, when after Matt left, after Matt Hart left, and and then Pat came on board, and she didn't use us, and anyway,
Okay.
we just want to know. I mean, if you're just gonna come and meet once a month and do, not ask,
I want,
our opinions, then why bother?
no, I want your input. I think
Yeah.
what and I would like, honestly, you all to like come to me with what you think we should be talking about, right? Right. I mean, one of the things will be this survey that I want to do, I think is going to take months because we'll have to do pop-up events. It's going to be a very long, in-depth process.
Right.
And so I think, but at the end of that, I'll be presenting the data that we found, right? And
Right.
so we'll talk about it together. That's my
Right.
thought, right? But I think I'm doing a bit of a disservice to you all because I came in, I think on the second week I was here to say hi to everybody at youth services, and then we didn't meet for a whole summer. And so, right, I think going back, thinking back, maybe we could have had a special meeting over the summer to let you know of the updates and things like that. It didn't cross my mind. I don't know if it crossed Katie's mind or not, but thinking back, we could have done that, right? And so maybe that's what we have to do is more call a special meeting for these types of things.
There was a survey done a number of years ago, and if you could find that, you might want to find it just to compare.
Do you know who did it?
Yeah, youth services did it. The town did it.
Okay.
No, I'm talking years ago, you know.
We have stuff all the way back to early 2000s on the computer, so I can see if I can find it.
Yeah. I think it might have even been before then.
Okay. I know there was a company that does them for youth. That was one that I wanted to use for that does it for like, and Megan, this is one of the things that we talked about, right? For more substance related items and such, but as well as mental health items. And so it's a company that does it for a few $1,000s. It's much, it's to me, right? I give them what I want and they get it for me. It's easier than my little Google forms. But that wasn't what was discussed in the process for the grants. And so I'm going to start with this Google Doc and see what we can find. And I
Okay,
think but I just want to get the youth voices. And I think I'm going to miss the youth voices. I think I'm going to get a lot of adults and stuff, but I'm not going to get the voices of the youth. And I think that's what we'll have to look at for next year. Or down the line in the spring, if we can't get a lot of people with this process or a lot of kids with this process. I would like your feedback on those questions as well. Like, what do you think are important questions to ask for the students and the families? And so that would be helpful as well.
so you're gonna, and how are you gonna get the survey to the community? Like,
So, yeah, so I set this up quickly before Celebrate Mansfield because I had them all posted at Celebrate Mansfield. The people wanted to. I have a QR code and a link. They are on our Town of Mansfield webpage, but I set them up that same week. So they're very like informal kind of questions. And so I've been talking to, I'm gonna actually hide it today because I'm talking to another a person that actually was doing a lot of sustainability work for us, and she's on another committee. And she's going to help me figure out ways to get it out to everybody and see if she can get some people pulled in to help us with the distribution and like setting up, like me sitting there on a computer and you can just use my computer to answer the survey, right? Like people who don't have technology or who aren't tech savvy, because I'm doing it for everybody, seniors, adults, and kids. So it's everybody. It's the whole community I'm trying to get.
okay,
Lisa, you had something?
I do, just thinking about like outreach and how we're gonna get to folks. I think including the families and the youth that are part of the JRB, that go through JRB would be helpful too, and it'd be an easy place to be able to ask them to do the survey,
Okay.
which obviously they can refuse, but
Yeah.
that way we're gonna be hitting some of the youth that unfortunately are involved with some of the juvenile justice stuff. And you might be able to pull out what some more of the needs are for the community
That's a great idea.
directly from there.
Yeah.
okay. All right, so you'll get back to us with all that stuff or have somebody here next month, right? Or whenever we have the meeting.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'll ask. I have another meeting with Ryan today, or I mean this week. I'll
Mm-hmm.
put it on my agenda of things to talk about with him.
I mean, if you can't reschedule next month's meeting, then just go ahead without me, you know?
I think we might not have a quorum though, Ethel.
Okay,
So, yeah, let's so we can talk about that. But is there anything else in terms of like what your purpose is or what we want to think about making sure that we're doing? I want feedback. I guess that's what I always assumed this was the purpose of the group. And it sounds like
It-
like
it's
I don't,
odd. It's odd because, you know, initially it was, you know, we were supposed to be advisory to the
Mhm.
you know, to the, you know, youth service staff and stuff, you know, and you know, present ideas from the community, or you know, if we heard something, what we thought that was needed, or you know, what have you. And it's sort of depending on who the director is, the human services director is, that depends on how they determine how to view our role, I guess.
okay.
You know, it's hard, you know, sometimes they wanted more involvement, for a number of reasons, and then you get somebody who doesn't want to even hear from us, basically.
What's not understanding is, and I'm like this close to being like, all right, everybody step aside. Hi, how are you?
Hello, all right, thank you.
Sorry.
So, anyway, I don't have anything else to say at this point
Right.
on this subject, but I'm sure other people do, so.
I need to slip away. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks, Deb. Take care.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything that they want to add? All right, I don't have anything, and Lisa, you're all set, and Danielle, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I'm set.
Yeah, okay. It just, it's disheartening if, you're gonna be on a committee and you're not gonna know anything. So if someone comes up to you and says, hey, did you hear what they're doing? No, it's not right. Okay.
Okay.
Do you have anything else, Jessica?
There's something, no, not in regards to that. I think there's
Okay.
just some new business.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment.
Can I have a second? Anybody? Megan?
Second.
Okay, thanks, guys. I guess the meeting's adjourned. Jessica, do you need anything from me before you leave?
Yeah, I want to set up let me stop recording.